Hi, everyone. Welcome to Business Career Week. It's day 3, and this is our 8th session, and I'm super excited to welcome Signa here today. Signa, our tagline for today's event is Sweatpants to Dress Pants, and Signa is going to go ahead and provide a little bit of an overview of opportunities at Signa. And then realistically, it's delving well into thriving within your first job or internship. So I'm super happy to introduce Abrar, who is our Yukon manager for our team, right, and for Signa's team, and he is within risk and underwriting advisor. So without further ado, Abrar, go ahead and take it away and introduce your team to us. Thank you so much.
Awesome. No, thank you, Sue, for the introduction. So obviously really excited to be here, guys. As Sue kind of kicked things off, so my team, that is the recruiting campus team for Yukon. We specifically recruit for the risk management and underwriting leadership development program, which we'll kind of dive into a little bit deeper within this presentation and kind of share one opportunity that's available right now for full-time. But outside of that, the main focus that we'll talk about is trying to help you guys thrive in your first job or internship. So, we have some slides here prepared to kind of get you guys more prepared and get you guys feeling more comfortable about when you guys do land that first job or first internship, and just some good etiquette. So just to kind of kick things off, I'm going to, perfect. All right. So I'll just quickly reintroduce myself. So my name is Abrar Chaudhry. I'm the campus manager for the Yukon campus for RULDP. I graduated from Yukon in 2015. Seems like forever ago now, but super excited that I'm a Yukon alum, and I was realigned with Yukon and being able to kind of give back to the university in a way through these recruiting efforts. So super passionate about the recruiting that we do outside of graduating from Yukon. All of my professional experience has been within Signa, and majority of it has been within the risk management and underwriting space, with having one rotation outside of risk management, underwriting, and broader FP&A. But like I said, super excited to be here, and hopefully, we'll look forward to kind of getting through these slides, and hope you guys can take something away from it. I'll kick it over to Chris for his quick intro.
Yeah, thanks, Abrar. So my name is Chris Falco. I've been with Signa for about 2 years now, and day-to-day I work as an underwriter for the New England market, but also help in some of the recruiting roles for our RULDP program. So I've been with Signa for 2 years. I worked for a couple of years before that, but I am not too far removed from the hiring process, so I hope I can offer additional insight as to what Signa's hiring process looks like.
Hi, my name is Amy Eidelman. I've been in underwriting for about 4.5 years now. I work on the New York team, but I also am a recruiter here, and I mainly do resume reviewing and then send them off to the interviewers.
Hi, I'm John Egan. I'm a 2016 graduate of Bentley University. I actually work on Chris's team in my day-to-day job, an underwriter supporting the New England market. As far as my role within Yukon, I'm the student engagement coordinator, so I'm in charge of kind of setting up events and everything. So I've been here for about 6 years, still relatively close to the hiring process, so hopefully my insight could be a little bit helpful to you guys today.
Hey, I'm Adrian Skolowitz. So I graduated from Yukon in 2018 with a degree in finance. Started at Signa about a month after graduating. Went through a pretty similar program when I started in 2018, so have some familiarity with the hiring process as I interviewed at Yukon for my position. And I currently work as an underwriter in the New York and New England markets. And along with Chris, I'm an interviewer on the Yukon recruiting team.
Awesome. No, thanks guys for your quick intros. Just to kind of level set and give everybody a kind of a quick agenda of like what we'll kind of be discussing today within the slide deck. I think Chris will kind of kick things off for us and talk about some considerations before day one. from there, Amy will talk a little bit about like adapting to like a corporate culture. And then John will talk a bit about relationship building and kind of like mentorship and mentorship building. And then Adrian will talk a little bit about fostering a culture of connection. And then I'll at the end cover the RELDP overview really quickly, kind of give you guys some more information on where you guys can kind of go and search for the active opportunity that we have out there right now. But if that sounds good to everybody, I'll kick it over to Chris to get us started.
Sounds good. Yeah, so just a couple of considerations before you start your new job. And some of this is Cigna specific, but a lot of it can really apply to your first job, wherever that is. So the first couple of things are just some tips. So if you're looking at a company, really the main thing is to continue to check their website, set up alerts on your phone for new job postings that you might be interested in, and do your research. Come prepared for interviews and know what you're getting into before showing up at the interview. And then should you get an offer, and Cigna specific, there would be a background check and drug screening and some time sensitive emails. So just be aware of what emails are coming in and be sure to check your spam email because maybe you're not getting a lot of Cigna emails all the time. So just keep an eye out for things that might be time sensitive. And then if you do get an offer, we ask that you consider it carefully. We want to give you an offer and we hope that you think about that offer. And if we have your word that you're going to accept, we hope that you do accept, and that's what we're planning on to hit our numbers for the year. So we just hope that you keep your word. And then sort of logistics, there'd be a lot of people emailing you back and forth with different job titles. So as far as logistics and compensation questions, that might go to a recruiter. So just keep an eye on what the email signatures say. And then for benefits and paid time off and things like that, that would go to an HR resource partner. And then sort of day one logistics, like questions as to like when you're getting your computer, what time should I show up at the office, where is the office, things like that would go to your direct manager. And then within Cigna, we actually offer a buddy role. So new hires would be assigned to someone labeled as a buddy, and that could be me or John or Adrian, really anyone. It's just, it'd be a more informal relationship that you're forming with someone closer to your level in the company, just to get questions answered like, where's the cafeteria, or where can I go to print something? So things along those lines. So there's lots of people and relationships that you'd form in the hiring process, and lots of titles to look out for.
So I'm going to discuss corporate culture and things to consider about your professional etiquette and personal ethics. So most companies will provide a code of ethics or a handbook, private policies. Majority of the time you're going to receive this on your first day before starting. It's always a good idea to read through those to have an understanding of what the company expects from you and what you can expect from the company. Especially now when we're working remotely, each company is handling it differently, or even if you intern at a company for 2 years in a row, companies are constantly changing their policies in this current work environment. Another important item is to think of having like a dedicated workspace, especially if you're working remote. It's really important to make sure you're not surrounded by too many distractions in an area that's going to enable you to really work and stay focused. Also trying to be cognizant of work hours and consider teammates and matrix partners that may live in different time zones, but it may depend on the times that you're working with and what like matrix partners you have. Additionally, trying to be accountable, create deadlines for yourself. If you're not given a deadline, reach out and figure out when you might need to have certain work items done. Be approachable in the sense that you know when people respond to you, and if you're going to respond to them by email or IMing you. Respond to emails in a respectable manner. So even if you're busy responding to someone and letting them know you're going to get a chance to look at their request, and that way they can set expectations. And most importantly, also knowing when to say no. At first, most people want to like look like they're doing a lot and they're doing a good job, so they're handling a lot of tasks at once. But knowing when to set a limit is really important, and not to burn yourself out. this can be just as important as handling a lot of workload. We can go to the next slide. So a lot of work is done over emails and IMs. Here are some common practices to avoid. Being responsive or being unresponsive, using improper titles, unnecessary or overuse of exclamation points or emojis, cursive script, colored font, or decorative email signature, unnecessary use of reply all, messages marked as urgent when they really aren't, and adding read receipts to every email. Next slide, please. Just because you may not be in person, it doesn't mean that body language is not important. There are plenty of distractions that can come up. The image below kind of shows a few exaggerated situations, but the point is still the same. You want to make sure you're giving the presenter like your full attention and to be polite and professional. Next slide. When you start, or even before you start, try to learn as much as you can about the business, whether it's reading about news articles about the company or to taking a look at their 10K. It's trying to learn more is only going to help you in your career about the company. And always feel like you can ask questions, especially when you're first starting working. But also it's important to maybe take notes when you're asking questions. That way you're not asking the same question multiple times. Another important tip is to balance speed and accuracy. When I first started, I know I wanted to always get each task done as quickly as I could, but accuracy is also important, so taking a balance of the two really helps. Try to be self-sufficient and use your resources. So it's okay to definitely ask questions, but try to figure out the answer first, and then going to someone and saying you looked at the resources and maybe didn't find it or need help using the resources. And then also asking for feedback from managers also shows that you really care about your performance and want to improve, and then taking that feedback and improving upon it. I think we can go to the next slide for John to talk about relationship building and mentors.
Yeah, thanks, Amy. So I think kind of Amy's last point was very important. I think it kind of feeds into this slide pretty well about feedback. So kind of the most important relationship you're going to have, especially kind of early career in those first couple of years, is going to be directly with your manager. So jumping in that first day, and even going back to what Chris said too, staying up on the company before your first day, keeping in touch with your manager, your interviewers, just keeping those touch points so that you're ready for the first day, ready to hit the ground running, I think are very, very important. And kind of in those first few months, what you want to do is establish a clear communication with your manager, right? Kind of come in, understand like what is expected of you, what would lead to success in your role, what your manager specifically wants to see from you, wants to see from your growth. That's very important, because without understanding what your manager wants from you, it'll be very hard for you to kind of succeed in your role, right? You would just kind of be shooting in the dark. So that's kind of the most important thing with your manager. What I would do to help facilitate that is kind of set up a consistent feedback schedule, right? Back to what Amy said. Try and consistently get feedback from your manager, right? Pull, if you're not getting feedback, pull feedback out of your manager. Set up meetings, whether it's weekly, bi-weekly. Talk to your manager consistently so that you're always getting that feedback. So if there is something that maybe you can improve on, or something that you're doing well, you understand what that is, and you can either continue to do that or improve on it. Work that into your own schedule as you can, right? So not everybody needs to talk to their manager every day, but it's good to set up consistent touch points to be able to ask questions with your manager should they come up, to go over your work should you need it, and just to consistently set up that feedback loop so that you're in the habit of doing that, so you're continually improving on your job. Next slide, Bar, please. So just a couple tips to actually set yourself up for success here, right? So like I said, communication is key, right? Be proactive. Get in front of it with your manager, right? Your manager isn't going to know what you want to improve on, what you want to do, what your career ambitions are, unless you tell them, right? So try to set up those points of communication and that line of thinking with them early on, so that they know how to help you facilitate your career best, right? So your manager is going to be your second biggest advocate besides yourself, right? You have to advocate for yourself, so you have to bring that to your manager, and so that your manager can take that to the rest of the organization and help you expose yourself to the rest of the organization, right? So make sure that your manager is aware of what you're doing, right? So bring up if you feel that you've made a big accomplishment or have hit a large milestone, make sure that you're keeping track of that, letting your manager know as you talk to them, whether it's a big year-end check-in, whether it's a monthly thing that you do, just keeping your manager involved in what you're doing, and what you think you're accomplishing, will help, because they're not going to see everything that you're doing, right? They're not looking over your shoulder every day. So I think just kind of keeping track of all the things that you're doing, right? If you're taking on some extra work, make sure that you're keeping track of that, so you can tell your manager, hey, by the way, I did this. This might not be in my normal job description, but I picked up this extra work. So anything where you're starting to go above and beyond, make sure that you're keeping track of that, and make sure that you're checking in with your manager on that. Because they may not know, right? Make sure and facilitate the conversation. That line, make sure that your manager's kind of seeing how you communicate with other people in the organization, right? So they know how you communicate with them specifically, but make sure that if there's big emails that you're writing, big projects that you're working on, include them in those communications, so that they can understand how you work, what your habits are, and all of that stuff. So that's kind of the biggest thing, is to make sure you're communicating well with your manager. Next slide, please. So this kind of comes back a little bit into the mentorship part of this, right? So past your manager, you're going to be probably put on a team. You're going to be working with many other people, all different age groups, right? Backgrounds, right? Like, so you're in school for your whole life. You've been in school with people that have been mostly around your age group, right, for the whole time. Entering the workforce, right, it'll be the first time where you're really having to coexist and work with probably people that are much older than you. Could be your parents' age, could be a generation in between, right? So the best way to kind of assimilate into a team is to foster a culture of respect, right? So I in my first internship, somebody told me it takes 6 months to learn a job, 12 months to perfect it. So during that time, you may be seeing things that you think, I can improve this process. Why are we doing things this way? It's just little things that you think might be able to help, but what you should be asking yourself, and those are all good thoughts to have, what you should maybe be asking yourself is, before you jump right in, is there a reason we do these things this way? Is there a process set in place for a reason? And you won't fully understand that until you kind of go take a few months, take a year to really understand your role. And that's kind of all part of the fostering culture of respect for the people who have been there, right? So before you kind of just jump in and start trying to change anything, maybe take that time to learn the role, kind of perfect the role, learn the ins and outs of the company, the organization, your team itself, right? How the people on your team interact, what their best way of communication is, right? Because maybe your preferred way of communication is not everybody else's, right? So that interpersonal piece of it really is the unsung part of really assimilating into a job and being able to succeed early on in your career, because those older people, those more experienced people, those mentors, if you will be the people that can really help you understand how the organization works, what your role is, and what it would take to be successful in your role, right? So don't suppress your thoughts if you're seeing process improvements, if you're seeing better ways to do things, right? But just try and respect where people are coming from. The interpersonal piece, right? That you could be the smartest person in the world, but if you don't have those interpersonal skills and you're not respecting other people, it will start to rub people the wrong way, and it might start to impede on your success, right? So that's kind of just a little thing that would really helps as far as taking your career further. You can go to the next slide, bro. I'm good.
All right, thanks, John. So I'm going to talk a little bit about fostering a culture of connection. So connecting is obviously an important part, and it's important to communicate face-to-face early and often. So to make sure to communicate with your team on a regular basis, whether that be through a call or virtual meetings or even an in-person meeting if people are in the office. However, if you are in a virtual environment, be sure to turn on your camera for those virtual meetings. That's because when we see each other, it's easier to build rapport. So it's also important to get to know your colleagues, take the time for casual conversation and get to know one another beyond work. If you are based in an office, you would do this, so try to be intentional and carve out time to connect with remote colleagues if you're still in a virtual setting. A good way I've done this in the past is through virtual happy hours after work, where you kind of talk to coworkers about things not work-related or outside of work. I've also done virtual events where you play a game like Jeopardy or Family Feud, and that's an easy way to work as a team with your coworkers on something that isn't work-related, so it's kind of easier to build a rapport with your coworkers. And John touched upon this a little bit, but I'll try to expand on it a bit. So something you can connect with your manager about is defining common metrics for success. So make sure that you know and understand your team's goals and metrics for success. A good way to do this is through SMART goals. So these goals are specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. And a question you should ask yourself when setting these goals is, can you clearly see how to measure your performance or progress against these goals? It's good to be proactive about setting these goals. If you go into a meeting with your manager and you're letting them know about individual or team goals that you have, it shows them that you're self-driven and motivated, and really sets you up for success in your role. So yeah, other ways to stay connected in the workplace are connecting in real time, as I mentioned on the previous slide, virtual events, building an in-person community, joining employee resource groups, LinkedIn, virtual happy hours, or virtual coffees and lunches, and having a mentor or buddy to set goals and stay connected. Something I really liked about the RULDP is that you're assigned a mentor when you first start the program. When I was going through the program, I learned a lot from my mentor, and just kind of seeing how another person handles real work scenarios helps you build your skill set when you're starting a new role. And another really important thing to do is to build relationships. So make sure to develop and nurture your professional relationships. Ask yourself, like, how can I help this person, or how can this person help me? Make every interaction meaningful, even difficult conversations. Send thank you notes when appropriate. Practice active listening and be personal. Take time to check in, and don't always have an ask for something. It's important to, not always go to a person when you need something, but sometimes just check in and see how they're doing and have a casual conversation with them. Having these relationships really helps in your professional career. People switch jobs all the time and move on to new roles. So having these relationships can help you grow throughout your career, not just in the role you have now or a year from now, but way down the line. And now I'll hand it off to Abrar for an RULDP overview.
Awesome. Thanks, Adrian. So I'll talk to everyone a little bit today about the RULDP kind of program structure. So on the slide here, you can kind of see like this triangle pyramid structure that we have, which are kind of separated into like two different components. So I'll hit upon like the bottom section, which is what we kind of refer to as like the foundation of the RULDP, and then I'll touch upon the top component a little bit after. So to begin, the bottom section, which is kind of highlighted in a yellowish orange here, almost like a mustard color. We might want to change that color, but that's like that's our part-time Explore program. It's our internship program. The length of the program is about 10 weeks in duration. It's a paid internship. Our primary target group that we recruit for this specific part of RULDP are rising seniors. So think of those folks like, coming out of their junior year, going into their senior year. The types of roles that these individuals would be exposed to would be essentially like anything within like Cigna healthcare. So you can think of that like, medical underwriting, pharmacy underwriting, dental underwriting, supplemental underwriting. It could be some of like the roles that we have on the operations side or on the informatics side. So there's a quite array or deep array of like different types of departments that we have within risk management underwriting. Outside of like, the line underwriting exposure that you would get, there are also like, senior leadership opportunities that like you would be able to kind of get exposure to, or senior leadership exposure that you would be able to get through the internship program, as well as like projects that you would be able to kind of get involved in to learn more about, I guess, extracurricular activities that are outside of like, just the regular day-to-day role. Ultimately, the exit goal of all of our interns is to award them with a full-time employment for the RULDP Evolve, which is the second section, and I'll talk a bit more about that right now. So the Evolve, which is like the middle section here, is our full-time program, and the target group that we recruit for are early career and recent college graduates. The length of this program is anywhere between 4 to 5 years, with the length of each rotation being about 2 to 2.5 years. The reason why it varies a little bit is because when you first join, your first role will probably be going through the Ultra training programs. If I can get that acronym right, I think it's Underwriting Leadership Training Risk Assessment Program. One of these guys can probably hold me accountable for that later, but I think that's what the acronym stands for. And that training program is about, I want to say like 9 months in duration, where like you're exposed to all the different, underwriting concepts, theories, funding arrangements, everything that you would need to know in order to be successful in like a line underwriting role. So that's the reason why like one of the rotations might end up being a little bit longer, excuse me, a little bit longer for the first one compared to the second one. Your second rotation might actually only be 24 months in duration or 2 years. For this like Evolve full-time RULDP program, we recruit for it both internally and externally. So when we come out to like colleges and universities, and when we do, when we're kind of present at like, whether it's a virtual career fair or in-person career fair, this is, one of the two programs that we recruit for. And this is the one that's actually what we're recruiting for right now. So our typical time frame for recruitment starts in the fall. It was like later identified earlier on this year that there was like an additional need for more new hires that are going to be starting in the June class. So we need more full-time individuals, right? So that's the like, the area that we're looking to kind of recruit more individuals for right now. Fortunately, like we filled all of our spots for the internship program, and we're super excited about the individuals that we selected, and we can't wait to have those folks get started. But like I said, for the full time, there's definitely an additional need there, and if you guys are interested in that, in another slide later on, I'll talk a little bit more about the requisition number and how you guys can go out there and search it. But outside of that, like I'm on LinkedIn. I think most of my team is on LinkedIn too. I don't think any of them would mind answering any of your questions after the fact too. So if you guys want to reach out to us, have more questions, don't hesitate to reach out. So that's kind of like the bottom half of like the pyramid, right? After Evolve and once you kind of graduate from that, you're probably thinking like, all right, what's next for me, right? So the reason why we have like this expand section, which is individual exploration and career management, is really to kind of award like the graduate from the Evolve program with the opportunity to see what they want to do with their career, right? Do they want to stay within risk management underwriting, or do they want to leverage their experience and potentially go to a different area within Cigna? Hopefully not, leave Cigna. Would be obviously leaving Cigna would be an option too, but hopefully they don't end up doing that. We want to retain as much of the talent as possible, but you have the opportunity after that to do so, right? So that's why we kind of put that little line item in between like the Evolve and the Emerge. The Emerge is also an additional kind of rotational program, which is more aligned with like a leadership and management career track. So if somebody had aspirations of managing a team one day and they wanted to lead like a medical underwriting team, they have this structured program which exposes you to opportunities and helps you build the competencies that are needed to be able to be a successful manager within the risk management underwriting space. So, you would have two rotations, both being 2 years apiece. We only recruit for this internally. So like once you kind of go through Evolve, you could consider this. The reason why I don't like to spend too much time on it is because it's not maybe necessarily something that you guys might be interested in right now, but I still like to touch upon it because it does provide some form of structure for what you might potentially be looking forward to after you kind of graduate from like the Evolve program. So thought I would mention that really quickly too. When we think about like the RULDP candidate profile and like, think of this like when Amy is, kind of doing her resume reviews in Workday and seeing all the different applicants that kind of come in, this is something that she constantly kind of refers back to, right? So she's looking to kind of see, is this individual kind of meeting some of these minimum qualifications? Are they authorized to kind of work in the U.S.? We prefer a GPA of 3.0, a bachelor's degree in a related major. The reason why we don't say specific majors is because we've seen a lot of different individuals be successful within this role, and they come from a wide array from different majors. So like, you might have people that are coming from a business background, a finance background. There's been a bunch of individuals, including myself, that came from the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences that have been really successful in this role. So, we don't really limit it to just one specific major. We do really open it up to anybody that would, kind of possess all of these different competencies and all these different kind of line items here when assessing the talent. And just to kind of hit on a couple of them, when we assess the talent, we definitely do love folks that have some extracurricular activities outside of their classroom. So if they're part of like an academic frat, or any type of like sorority, like that is obviously great. If they have any prior internship within the insurance like world, that's obviously great too. Like even though we don't necessarily expect you to know anything about insurance because we're going to teach you everything, how we underwrite at Cigna, if you have any prior internship or work experience, that's awesome. We definitely want individuals that believe in our mission, right? So I would say like that's something that, I think is probably one of the first questions that the interviewers ask is, like why did you choose Cigna, especially with, us being based in Connecticut. People consider this like the insurance capital of the country. Like we have so many different insurance companies here. Why are you specifically looking into Cigna, right? So, we definitely want folks that believe in our mission, believe in our vision, and, are interested in kind of launching a career in underwriting. Why did you specifically want underwriting and why are you specifically seeking a rotational program and these types of learning opportunities? Are you ambitious to want to continue to kind of grow your career, right? So these are like, a bunch of different areas that we look to kind of assess while going through like the interview guide, as well as like reviewing the resumes. And when it comes to competencies, we want individuals that are collaborative, people that can manage complexity well, who can balance multiple stakeholders. The line underwriting role itself balances many different stakeholders. Like, we work from people in the sales area to implementation to contracts. So like, there's a bunch of different, stakeholders that we also balance too. So we want folks that are going to be able to kind of, meet the, meet that kind of competency where they're able to kind of manage multiple different stakeholders at the same time. And obviously like, financial acumen, nimble learning, and like quality decision making, because the decisions that we end up making as line underwriters have an impact on the earnings and on the growth of the overall enterprise. So we want folks that have, good quality decision making. And so just to, I guess, kind of give you guys a little bit of a walkthrough on like finding out more information about our active opportunity that we have right now, the full-time RULDP Evolve. So if you were to go out to like the cigna.com/careers website, you can go there, search this requisition number, so the 210-13971. I'll leave this on the screen for a little bit. You can take a screenshot, take a picture of it on your phone. And you can go out there and then also learn more about it. A lot of the information that I talked about will probably be in the job ad too, but there might be more information that I might not have touched upon. So you'll find more information out there as well. But this is, one area that you can go and learn about, specific role. And say, for example, like, maybe this isn't the right area for you. Maybe you're not interested in risk management underwriting. This is still a great avenue to go out and search what other roles we have open within Cigna, right? So I think this is, still insightful for folks that might not necessarily be interested in underwriting, but if you are, this is the requisition that we're actively recruiting for, and I would definitely go out and take a look at it. And I think this one today, I think just talks a little bit more about that. So that requisition number is there again. And it says location, Bloomfield, Connecticut. If you were interested in potentially being relocated, or maybe you're originally from like a different location, I do believe that we are also recruiting at some of the other hubs. So like I think, Phoenix, Franklin, Tennessee, Chattanooga, might be thinking of Philadelphia. So there could be a possibility if you were looking to kind of relocate or something like that, there could be that opportunity as well. But yeah, so I think with that, I will turn it over to anybody that might have some questions for us. I wasn't able to kind of really monitor the chat functionality, Sue, so I don't know if any questions kind of came in through there, but if they did, wouldn't mind answering those first, or if there's anybody on the line that has any live questions, more than happy to answer any questions.
Perfect. Thank you. This was a great presentation, and I really enjoyed the super overview of what programs you actually have openings for right now. So thank you so much. I did not. My colleague went ahead and put in that the students could go ahead and utilize the chat function. I think I was the only one utilizing it, trying to encourage students to go ahead and pay attention to certain key things that you had commented on throughout. So if anybody has any questions, any of my colleagues, certainly feel free to go ahead and take yourselves off mute and go ahead and raise a hand or give a shout. Otherwise, if there's anything that anyone from the Cigna team wants to go ahead and add to this, I certainly, for us, really enjoyed how to get yourself started in the big game. So I should go ahead and remind students that are listening now and maybe in the future, but we do have another session coming up tomorrow, or actually this evening, which is the simple strategies for job search, but also tomorrow regarding resource groups and that are available within employment by employers, to try to figure out how individuals can go ahead and fit in culturally at an organization. And I really appreciated that slide that you had and shared that information with the students. So that was great. So thank you. I did a lot of talking, didn't allow for questions. So anyone out there, any questions? This is a perfect opportunity to network and engage students. So I would take advantage of that. Not a one question. Well, if no one has any questions, my colleagues have no additional comments. Signa, do you have anything that you'd like to add at this particular point in time? This was a super presentation. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah, no, thank you, Sue. Just closing remarks, I think, for myself, and then I'll ask the rest of my team if they want to add anything, but just super appreciative of the opportunity. I think I'll be the first one to admit that, I think over the last couple of years, it's been hard to kind of gain some traction here on campus to, put on events like this. So we're fortunate for the partnership, and, hopefully we can do this again in the future. And like I said earlier, for the rest of the students that are still on the line, I'm on LinkedIn. Most of my team is on LinkedIn. If you guys have any questions, or if you guys need any help in, trying to identify the right role, or if you guys have any questions about Cigna or about the risk management underwriting area, most of us, I think, would be more than willing to kind of open our doors and help you guys answer any questions that you guys might have. So even if you guys might, don't want to answer or ask any of them right now, we're more than happy to kind of answer any questions after the fact. But I'll turn it over to my team to see if they have anything.
No, bro, I think you hit it on the head perfect. I think you covered it all. Don't be afraid to find us. Reach out to us if you have any questions. I think all of us are more than happy to help in any way, getting your guys' careers off the ground.
Excellent. Well, without further ado, folks, I'm going to sign off. Be well, stay healthy, and this was a great presentation, Signa. Thank you so much.
Awesome. No, thanks, Sue. Take care. Have a good rest of your day,
Thank you.
everybody.